Hey everyone, I'm Mike Smith, your discipleship coach. And one of the things that we do is we help you come up with practical ways to follow Christ in everyday life. I'm so glad to be with you. I'm with a good friend of mine here today, Pablo Russi. Pablo, thanks for being with me today.
Absolutely.
That's good. We're going to share with you just how impactful God can be through our lives, even when we don't even know that it's happening. Pablo and I ran into each other here unplanned in Phoenix, Arizona. We're probably at home in the cold when everyone's watching this, but it's so great to have palm trees behind us right now. And what I want to do is talk about how our stories have crossed over the years and just let our listeners understand that God's the author and perfecter of our faith. The pen is in his hand.
Right.
He's writing the story, and it's a great story.
Right.
So, Pablo, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself, your family, and how long have you been in ministry?
Yeah, my name is Pablo. I am 42 years old. I've been in ministry for 22 years. Have a wife, wonderful wife, and 5 children, and 3 of who at this point are trying to pursue ministry. And so the first time I met Mike, he was actually my Sunday school teacher. He was a step-in, fill-in volunteer Sunday school teacher with us crazy and wild teenagers. Actually, I wasn't even 10. I think it was 5th grade. And Mike, I remember, it was so memorable to me because he decided that he was going to use an illustration. I think he was talking about the Holy Spirit.
Probably.
And he swallowed a raw egg, and it stuck with me for a long time. But that was kind of a, you do what you can to.
Hey, all of you disciplers out there, I just want to tell you, don't do that at home. I'm actually a trained professional. No, but here I am, 16. I thought that's how you disciple people.
Right.
But so that's how we met. It's really great. And I want to say, as a discipler, you have 5 kids. I have 6. So if you're thinking about your future, I'll just let that sit right there. So tell me a little bit about jumping into ministry. Your first ministry position, maybe in the next 60 seconds, kind of where have you served?
Okay, for first ministry position, I was a volunteer a youth pastor at a small church in East Chicago. And also, I went, not too long after that, my next position was actually I followed Mike's footsteps and went to be a youth pastor where he was a youth pastor previously, right before me, right after him. I fell into his position. Several years later, I was in Tennessee, the great state of Tennessee, and then back to Living Hope Church in Maryville, Indiana, where I think Mike actually spent some time there doing an internship and some other things like that. And then currently I'm in Joliet, Illinois, and just found out even today that Mike only is like 10 minutes away from where I live. Didn't even know it.
I want to hit pause for a second. So as a young person in a church willing to serve, here's a young kid that was in my Sunday school class. When I moved to the Chicago area and was a youth pastor, just shortly after that, Pablo, unplanned, came to the same church, a church that I had interned at. Pablo came and served, I think, 6 years at that church. And now we're living 10, 15 minutes apart. It's just pretty remarkable to me.
And it's always good because when you have people in ministry who you can connect with, who maybe have been literally where you were before, who can give you some heads up and some advice and coach you through things, it's pretty incredible. And I remember my first youth group, it was 4 teenagers, and I took those 4 teenagers and I took them to see Mike's youth group in Hammond, and that's what inspired them to grow that youth group and to make it a little bit bigger than it was. And not only about 3.5 years later after that, I ended up being the youth pastor at the place where I went to take kids to get vision to be a part of.
Great principle here. Not being intimidated by other leadership. Really living a life where you can help other people win. This is what sacrificial leadership is about. And I think it fits in discipleship. We never signed a contract about mentoring and discipling. But somehow I feel like God gave us it relationally to one another. Thanks for being part of my story. And I see what God did in your youth ministry through your leadership. And when you visited us, you know what happened? God let me be part of your story. Here's the beauty. I didn't do anything. But serving, loving, and leading toward your success. Here's what's great. You talked about coming in and visiting that youth group and then later being the youth pastor at that church. Well, a similar thing is happening right now in your life. Tell us about that.
So I'm currently the care pastor at an incredible church in Joliet, and I've actually had several roles there, so it's incredible. But something cool happened. I'm having the opportunity to transition and help to start a church in my hometown in Northwest Indiana. And here's the crazy thing about it, kind of similar to what he said, is before I came to Joliet, I was driving by a little small church on a street corner, and I was like, Lord, I'll do anything, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. Just tell me what you want me to do. Do you want me to start a church, plant a church? What is it? And the Lord said, go into that little church and ask them if they need any help. And I'm like, okay, Lord, but I always try to be obedient whenever the Lord speaks. So I did, and that pastor had me help him for 3 weeks with doing worship. And now here, almost 4 years later, it's the same church that the Lord's going to allow me to help to revitalize and to replant. And it's incredible as I stand on that stage and I'm able to communicate, just knowing that the obedience of the Lord and where that takes you, the small steps of obedience to the Lord can open up doors that we never really anticipated.
This is so powerful. Here's the lesson. The prayer might be, I'll do anything, but the goal is not the doing. The goal is in the obedient response to what God is doing. It reminds me of what prayer is all about. If you're praying today, seeking God's will, don't ask, God, give me, God, help me do. Use prayer as a way to dial in to what God is doing in your life.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Michael Smith, your discipleship coach, helping you apply everyday or biblical truth to everyday life. I'm with Pablo Russi today. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
Hey, God bless you. We'll see you again real soon.